Welcome to Ultimate DIY, where you learn to be your own handyman. Today we are going to cover GFCI receptacles. You find these in almost everyone's home today, but do you really need them? We're going to cover that. We're going to cover what they actually are, how they actually work. I'm going to cover how you would install one. And I'm even going to show you a little test with a meter so that you can see how it really works. And then if you stay tuned to the very end, I have a little bonus section which I'm going to cover that's going to explain to you what the number one complaint with a GFCI outlet is with most people. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So I am constantly asked, what is a GFCI outlet and why do I need it? Well, first of all, let's take a look at what they look like. This one has a light, this one does not. They're both going to have test and reset buttons so that you can make sure that they're functioning correctly. I would do that once a month, by the way. But you're going to find these around your kitchens. You're going to find them in your bathrooms. You're going to find them in your garages. You'll find them outdoors. Basically, anywhere that water and electricity can meet, you're going to find a GFCI outlet. Now, how a GFCI outlet works is it constantly monitors the amperage going out of the plug and coming back. We are dealing with alternating current, so you have current going out and you have current coming back. When it actually detects that there's a difference as low as 4 to 6 milliamps, it will actually trip, and it does that within 1/40th of a second. So what this is designed to do is it is designed to protect people, not devices, not the home. It's a personal protection device. Now, where this differs from a breaker, because I get asked this all the time, can I not just use a breaker? Do I really need that? A breaker does something totally different, not even close to the same realm. A breaker, say for instance this one, which is 20, which by the way, most of your receptacles are going to range 15 to 20 amps. So we'll use a 20. If something gets overloaded, say you have a teenager in the bathroom and they're using a blow dryer and they decide to plug in a curling iron or flattening iron at the same time, they are liable to overload the 20 amps and it's going to trip the breaker. You're going to have to go to the breaker box, find it, and turn it back on. Now, think about this for a second. This works off, 4 to 6 milliamps. This works off amps. So this you're going to have to get above 20 to even pop it. And that's no guarantee that it will even pop. First of all, you have a nuisance factor built into this, meaning that if this is 20 amps, you have things like motors starting up, compressors on refrigerators, things like that. So it is designed to actually kind of work off a magnetic heat field, and it may get up to, 25, close to 30 amps before it actually pops. Sometimes it may not pop at all. All right, so let's take one more quick look at another scenario. Say someone is taking a bath and there is a blow dryer on the counter next to the bathtub. Someone comes in, bumps it, it accidentally falls into the water. Will a breaker alone without a GFCI protect you or save you? Well, technically, a breaker like this is going to trip immediately if it is a short circuit, meaning the hot wire hits the neutral. But something like that going into water, or something like, say, you grabbing a hold of something and electricity going through you into the ground, is basically not a short circuit. You actually have more resistance in you than the actual electrical wire has, but it will still go through you. And I'm going to leave a chart up above that is going to show you exactly how much electricity it can take to actually kill you. And you're going to be shocked because it's a lot less than an amp. So if I have a 20 amp breaker here, I do not have a GFCI outlet. The blow dryer falls into the water. It will start electrocuting whoever is in that water, and it may trip eventually. It may never trip. So chances are you're not going to survive that. But in the same scenario, if we have a GFCI outlet and that blow dryer gets knocked into the water within 1/40th of a second, this will detect a difference of that 4 to 6 milliamps, and it's going to shut off power. And chances are that person will have a much better chance of surviving. All right, guys, to explain to you how a GFCI receptacle works, let me show you this unit here. I actually have this pulled out of the wall. I have the live wires coming to it, and I have a load, which is going to be the light on the floor. So I have my hot side, the black, coming in, going through the line, through the load, back up, and through the neutral. That is how your alternating current works. It's going to do that 60 times per second in the US. That's your 60 hertz. Now, how the receptacle itself uses that to work, let me show you with an amp meter. We're going to put this on 2 to 20 amps. If I put it on the load side, we are running right around 1 to 1.4. We should be about the same on our neutral, which we are 1.2. Now, that is going to be going through and back out. If I put both of them together like this, it should zero out, which it does. So what's happening is the magnetic field that is going through the hot and then going through the load and coming back out are going to counteract each other. So how a receptacle like this works, a GFCI, is it detects as little as 5 milliamps difference, it's actually going to trip. And that's how you actually get protected, and that's how the outlet actually works. Okay guys, so the biggest problem I see when I go in after a DIYer or even a pro electrician who has put one of these in and it's not functioning is that I'll put the tester in and it's going to show that there's power at the unit, but it's not powering anything at all. The reason for that is if you take a look at the sides, the way these are wired, I have a gold screw. That's supposed to be my hot wire coming in. On an actual regular unit, it doesn't matter which one of these I put it on because I have a little tab right here that actually carries that power between the two of them. The neutral works the same way. I can put it here or I can put it here. It's going to connect through this little tab. But if you take a close look at the actual GFCI unit, they are separated. There is no tab. If you turn it on its back, it has a little diagram that says line. Line means that coming from the actual power source, it needs to be tied in here. So my black power line or load goes right here, and my neutral goes on this side. You're going to notice that they have the bottom taped off. You can actually untape this, and it has the same screws here. And now I can daisy chain 3 or 4 of these down the road from this one, and all of them will be protected by my GFCI plug. So if any of these go, have a problem and it detects a problem, it's going to pop here and the whole line will go down. That's how it works. So let's go ahead and wire it in real quick. All right, guys, so when you're actually looking at the wall, just make sure that this is dead, that you do not have power to it, but this is going to be your earth ground, white neutral, black is going to be hot. Now this is a dedicated line. It's stopping here and it's not going to be daisy chaining anywhere else. So we're going to leave the tape on. So we really only have 3 connections. I have my earth ground, which is right here. I have the white, which is going to be the white, or actually silver, which is white, but I always consider that my neutral because it is very close to white. And then I have gold, which makes me think of the copper. I know that's my hot. Now I will actually take and pre-bend these just a little bit. Start in the middle, kind of bend it over, make my loop. Just like that. Do the same thing with the neutral. Now, and then this one I will do the same. Now I make a little bit bigger loop on the earth ground, just like that. You put it on like that. Now I like to close my loop a little bit more. I'll grab it and kind of pull it over, tighten it down. Now I will take the neutral, I'm going to put it on just like that. Make sure that your screw is going in the same direction as your loop so it doesn't take itself off. There we go. And now I'm going to take my earth ground, go underneath, Turn it this way. Put that on. Once you have that done, guys, it's pretty simple. We are just going to bend the wires back inside. Just like that. There we go. So now all we have to do is turn on the power and see if we have the little green light at the bottom. Power is back on at the breaker. You can see here I have a green light indicating that it has power and everything is working well. If I use my no contact tester, I can actually see I do have power. If you notice on this one over here, I do not have any lights. That is because this unit was actually made before 2006. It's an old unit, but I wanted to show you the difference because who knows, you may end up running into that situation. But if I put my power tester, you can see it definitely has power. Now they're both going to have the same buttons. I'm going to have the test button in the black. Let's push it down. You see my light goes off, and that shows me that it will actually trip. Now the interesting thing here, and this is where guys run into trouble, they will put this in and wire it incorrectly. Like I said earlier, they're going to use their tester and they're showing that there's power here. So they're like, well, I'm getting power. Well, they wired it wrong. It's still going to register power, but it's not flowing correctly the way it should, and it's not going to go through to your actual load. So you reset it by hitting the red button. There you go, and you could see it went amber and then green immediately. This one is going to work the same way. I'm going to actually trip it so that I can test, and I'm still going to show that I have a little bit of power here. But to get it to actually work, I'm going to have to push that in. Now, that is your normal testing in the house. You can go a step further. This is a regular testing plug that lights up and it's going to tell me everything is wired correctly, which I have the two lights together, which is perfect. This one should do the exact same thing. Perfect. And these actually tell you on the side what each thing means. So if you have a red light and a yellow over here, it's going to tell you what that means. What I'm looking for is two yellow lights side by side, and I'm good to go. That is fantastic for telling me that I wired it up right, but it's not telling me that the actual GFCI circuitry is working correct and going to protect me. So to test the GFCI outlet, we're going to use the Milwaukee GFCI tester. This is a digital tester that has a really nice screen on it that's going to tell you everything you need to know. Now, right now I have it off. So let's see what happens when we power it on. We're going to power, just like this. It should zero. There's our zero. We're going to plug it in, and we have nothing. We have zeros. That means we have no power. Unplug it, and let's go ahead and reset. Reset there. Now we have the green light. Plug it in. Now we are reading. We're at 121, 122. We're showing correct. We have a green light. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now we want to test the unit. If we hit the test button here, it is going to trip it for us. So listen, you'll hear it. There you go. And it is going through a test. It's actually telling us how quickly that it actually tripped, which is the 0.07. It's perfect. And we are good to go. So now we're showing zero. We're going to pull it out and we can reset it again right there. And we're back to green. Plug it in. And there you go. That easy, that quick. All right, guys, so lastly, we're going to talk about the one thing that every homeowner complains about. I told you in the very beginning that there was something that every homeowner complains about when it comes to these. First of all, they're going to complain why they need it because they don't understand what it's for and how it can protect them. But there is an issue with these that I see day in and day out, and it generally happens in the garage. Most people will put a spare refrigerator or their deep freezer in the garage. And when they do that, they're going to a lot of times plug into these plugs because that is code. Well, these will trip. You'll be at work. You could be on vacation. It could be several days before you ever need to go out to the freezer. By the time you get out there and realize it, your food has been run. Now, How do we solve that problem? There's a couple of ways we can solve it. The first one, dedicated receptacle. Not a duplex like this. It has to be a single, and it has to have its own line running back to the breaker box. It cannot be tied with everything else. It has to be labeled. It has to be unaccessible, meaning that the refrigerator or freezer are up against it, so you're not constantly unplugging it and plugging something else in real quick. You can add a buzzer to the actual electrical outlet so that if power is lost, it starts beeping or buzzing, so it lets you know something's going on. And a matter of fact, some of your freezers, deep freezes, and even refrigerators, I've seen with that little buzzer built in, especially the freezers though. So you may be able to get a freezer that has that already on it. That leads me to number 2. If your unit, your refrigerator, or your freezer are very old, they're usually going to be bigger power hogs. They have big compressors, and they will start up with a really big spike of electricity, and sometimes that causes those to trip as well. So you could upgrade to a newer model refrigerator or freezer, and that may eliminate your problem. One other thing you can try is, instead of having the GFCI built into the wall, just like this, you can also have it on a breaker. So it can be a special breaker that has the GFCI built onto it, and they're not quite as sensitive as the ones that are in the wall, and that may solve your problem as well. So those are things to keep in mind if you have a freezer in a garage or a refrigerator in a garage and you're having problems with it tripping, or you're worried about it tripping, because it could happen at any time. And if that food spoils, you're talking in a freezer, it could be $500 or more worth of meat and things like that that you don't want to lose. So guys, I hope that helps. I hope you got a little something out of this video. If you're not a subscriber, be sure and hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell notification button. Matter of fact, hit it twice, because if you do, it's going to let you know about every one of my videos as I release them. Leave me a comment. Let me know if I forgot something on this, or if you've had experiences with the GFCI outlets, and whether you like them, whether you hate them, what you think. Give me ideas for future videos that you'd like to see. As always, we will see you on the next one.